Is the Shattered Vale the perfect Zombies map? Many fans believe this is true, and from its atmosphere to its Easter egg and boss fight, it's really not hard to understand why.
Someone give me a 10-gallon hat.
It is so nice to meet you face to face, Plate.
Following the release of the Tomb, it's fair to say the opinions of the Zombies community were hugely negative towards Black Ops 6, and for a time, things weren't looking good. There was a lot riding on the release of the Shattered Vale. Would it lead to the true downfall of the Dark Ether storyline, or revive it with one final lifeline? Throwing it back slightly, if there is one thing that Liberty Falls really struggled with, it has got to be atmosphere. Sadly, due to its combination of location and daytime setting, it really failed to make you feel like you were in an unnerving, dangerous classic zombie setting. So with the Shattered Vale taking place nearby and at a similar time of day, the question is, would it fall into the same trap? I'm very happy to say that the answer is no. From the minute you arrive at Colton Hall, it's immediately obvious that things are going to be very different to Liberty Falls. The mansion may be initially very impressive in its stature and surrounded by an incredible looking estate filled with gardens and greenhouses, but that beauty doesn't last long as you approach the main building itself, as it's been ravaged by the undead and the earth-shattering events that have already taken place here, leaving the manor in a state that makes for the perfect Black Ops 6 Zombies atmosphere. Upon exploring further, the map's incredible setting just becomes even more clear. Huge open hallways have been torn apart by evil forces, and although it's clear that this incredible abode was once a place to be admired, that's definitely not the case anymore, as it stands in a state of ruin, now acting as a mere memory of what once was and a constant reminder of the true dangers of the Dark Ether. The further you make your way into the play space, the darker things seem to get, with the map even having fans traverse corridors that arrive at a rundown nursery. And to think of the fact that perhaps not long ago young children were even living here before the events that shape the area we now find ourselves in is pretty unsettling. Particularly as it seems unlikely that the lives of those previous inhabitants led to anything other than a very gruesome and tragic ending. Surprisingly, even with themes as dark as this appearing in the experience, the Shattered Vale actually manages to balance horror and beauty very impressively. With continued exploration, players find themselves in an incredible outside area that really feels like the complete antithesis of everything they've seen so far. The surrounding landscape looks phenomenal and very much acts as a breather from the decrepit and rundown look of the mansion itself. It exists to offer fans a comparison of what this entire area could have looked like with its natural beauty if the never-ending evil of the Dark Ether had failed to get its claws into the peaceful area of Liberty Falls. Even though it may feel like the exact opposite of what a Zombies map needs, it actually makes the darker and more sinister parts of the Shattered Vale's atmosphere stand out as even more impressive, because when compared to this incredible scenery, they seem all the more unnerving and menacing. It's not long though before fans find themselves needing to return to the ruined and wrecked structure of Colton Hall, and this leads them down the elevator shaft in order to communicate face-to-face plate with the AI Sam. And it's these interactions that offer fans what I believe is one of the most sinister things about this entire experience. In this room, you are never free from her gaze. You are always being watched constantly. At no point does she allow you the freedom to move through this chamber unobserved. And that in itself could be the creepiest thing about the whole of the Shattered Vale, as it's an extremely unique way to make players feel like they're not in control and are merely puppets for something much larger. It takes exactly what you'd expect for a Zombies map in terms of what makes a player feel uneasy and flips it on its head with something completely unexpected in this key storyline character. To put it simply, the atmosphere on display in the Shattered Vale is among the most impressive in Black Ops 6 Zombies, but for very different reasons to popular experiences such as Terminus or Citadel des Morts. It stands on its own as a map that manages to firmly grip players with its eerie and bleak setting, but in a hugely distinctive way compared to others available in the franchise. But any big Zombies fan knows that no matter how good a map's atmosphere is, for it to be truly special, it needs to be combined with a fantastic map layout, and luckily that's exactly what the Shattered Vale offers players. Colton Hall honestly feels like the perfect combination of different play spaces, from wide open massive training areas to tight claustrophobic corridors that can cause players some serious issues if they find themselves travelling through them at the wrong time. There will no doubt be some who call the experience too easy due to its large number of excellent training areas such as the motor court, grand foyer and mainframe chamber. But the Shattered Veil is designed in an extremely smart way, meaning that if players want to get access to all of its best features that will be needed to get to high rounds, then they'll find themselves constantly travelling to various areas of the map which are definitely not as safe as those that I've just mentioned. It's this need to traverse through much tighter and dangerous sections in order to get access to more powerful weaponry and features which make this a genuinely interesting play space to take on the undead. Another hugely important thing we need to touch on though is the overall size of the Shattered Veil. It doesn't seem like an exaggeration to say that before the map's release there were huge concerns from the community that this experience may be too small in scale and much more similar to that of the Tomb and Liberty Falls. Quite clearly though, that was 100% not the case. The Shattered Veil does not suffer from a lack of explorable areas at all, in fact it's pretty huge. The estate gardens and greenhouses, the huge mansion filled with winding corridors and impressive entranceway down into Sam's incredibly vast chamber, and finally the underground tunnels filled with rubble and the disturbing sight of a doppelganger waiting for its chance to pounce. In terms of a play space in the more modern COD Zombies era, you can't really ask for much more. The Shattered Veil was amazingly designed by the team at Treyarch, and if many years into the future we're still getting arrivals to the franchise as impressive as this, then the community will be in a great spot. And there is absolutely no doubt that we could say the same for the map's Easter egg, because it's got to be one of the best in years. If there is one thing that this more modern iteration of COD Zombies has suffered with, it's creating top level Easter egg quests that are able to offer a good level of challenge for players more familiar with that style of content. Cold War suffered massively in this department, with many of its Easter eggs being described as far too casual by a number of fans. But Black Ops 6 managed to remedy this with a number of its experience such as Citadel Day More, but still fell into the same trap with Liberty Falls and to a lesser extent Terminus. Fortunately, the Shattered Veil definitely does not fail when it comes to its main quest, because in my opinion it's one of the best in the entire game. Although not up there with the most difficult of all time, the Easter egg gives players a great level of challenge whilst also remaining fair. It's got an awesome combination of steps that provide fans with a wide variety of things to do, from unique ways to collect various ritual items to performing intense otherworldly lockdowns against hordes of enemies and mini-bosses. There is however one task that I actually think is very poorly thought out unfortunately, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. For now though, it's important to mention that a decent portion of this quest is made up of getting hold of all variants of the Ray Gun Mark II, something that we'll actually also cover slightly later. Luckily though, it goes even further, with them being a key part of the quest on top of just unlocking them, very much like Citadel Day More, with different variants being the only way to complete certain steps, making them an important part of the experience, ensuring that they're intertwined perfectly with the Easter egg. But even outside of this use of the Mark IIs, it's a pretty extensive quest that makes sure to let fans know that this is going to be no easy feat, and to me very much feels like a throwback to the glory days of older Treyarch Easter eggs. There's even a decent amount of item collecting, which is certainly something that may put some fans off, but not myself, as once again it really brings back a huge amount of nostalgia for me from older quests that hugely incorporated this style of play. The Shattered Veil's Easter egg really feels like a great amalgamation of styles, from the best parts of Black Ops 6 to more classic aspects of other games that many thought had disappeared, and for that it's up there with the greats. But as good as this main quest is though, there is no doubt that the most impressive part is the final encounter with an enemy that has felt like a fever dream ever since its discovery.
That can't be a part of your plan! Residual temporal energy! It's a real bitch!
Before the arrival of the Shattered Veil, there were rumours of a final battle just like this, but they largely felt like an ongoing joke as opposed to an actual boss fight that would genuinely happen. It's encounters like this that fans have asked for years, battles that sound totally impossible and unrealistic memes that would never actually see the light of day, but it's not. The Z-Rex is very much real. One thing to point out, does this final boss have much of a direct connection to the narrative of the Shattered Veil? No, absolutely not. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but when it's this good, who even cares? Black Ops 6 Zombies has in general had a very strong track record with its Easter egg final encounters, not including the Tomb of course. Patient 13 on Terminus, the Guardian on Citadel Day More, they're probably going to go down as all-time classics, so in that respect this map had a huge amount to live up to. And without a shadow of a doubt, it absolutely managed to reach those heights. It is quite frankly an incredible final boss. I mean, a zombified T-Rex battle taking place in a special arena with Richtofen sniping from the sidelines, what more could you ask for? The spectacle of this encounter is up there as an all-timer in my opinion, and sure, it may not be as difficult as some fights from the more classic era of zombies, but when it's as exciting as this, I'm not really sure that matters. It's multi-phased and features numerous different attack patterns from the Z-Rex, making sure that even seasoned players need to be on their toes to be successful. Visually as well, the monster looks incredible, with its flesh literally falling off the bone, revealing the inside of this terrifying creature. Difficulty aside, this battle really should be the template for future boss fights. It will be remembered for a very long time, and I'm happy to say it will be for all the right reasons. The final encounter isn't the only way that the Shattered Veil managed to improve over the tomb though, because as I think we all know, the narrative in that experience was sadly pretty much non-existent. But thankfully that is definitely not the case with DLC 3, because the story on display here is fantastic. Like many aspects of this map, before release there were genuine concerns from fans that the narrative was sadly going to be in a similar vein to the tomb and just be very surface level and not really touch on any major plot points. It became very clear very quickly though that this was absolutely not true with the Shattered Veil, and for that I am grateful. The story on display here is a major part of the experience and is weaved throughout every aspect of the map and its Easter egg. Certain details may be more hidden, with mentions of a former cult being related to Colton Hall and responsible for the reasoning that this house was acquired to be used for Project Janus research. But of course the coolest details and vast majority of the important story progression comes at the hands of Richtofen and his long awaited arrival fully into a map, where after completing 90% of the Easter egg, fans discover a dark secret and what really happened to Edward after that incredible Liberty Falls intro cutscene.
I regret I could not tell you the whole truth. Please understand, humans, has not been kind to me. But I wish you no harm. So I am sending you somewhere safe, where you cannot interfere with what comes next.
You idiots gave us the Sentinel artifact, didn't you?
Although not particularly a shock to anyone following the story more closely, the fact that the Sam AI couldn't be trusted and had its own ulterior motive was a cool story beat, and felt like a great modern theme to include in a Zombies experience. The Shattered Veil also covered details surrounding the reasoning as to why the Sentinel artifact made a return to the Zombies storyline after being left behind nearly 7 years ago.
Maxis and I, we killed your family.
Everything I have done. Requiem, Project Janus, Sam, all of it, just to fix your murderous fuck-up and bring Mary and Samuel back from the dead. And now, you have lost the one thing that can actually do it!
The story of the map felt so complete, it felt properly fleshed out and honestly gave people exactly what they were looking for in terms of narrative progression, and let's just say it, those cutscenes look absolutely incredible. It all wrapped up with one final amazing cinematic that created levels of hype in the Zombies community that many thought had been lost years earlier.
I know what Sam really intends to do with the Sentinel artifact. Sam wants to be Maxis. To reconstitute and inhabit her body. She would have full control of the Dark Ether.
You got a plan?
Always.
The Shattered Veil is a perfect example of what Zombies fans are looking for when it comes to important story progression within a map. In that respect, it got pretty much everything right. When Treyarch does it well, it leaves players with lasting incredible memories, and that is exactly what happened with the Shattered Veil. Obviously though, in any good Zombies map, gameplay is just as important, if not more so, than a solid story, and that includes enemies. This map brought about the arrival of the Elder Disciple, and at first glance, sure, you'd be forgiven for thinking we're just talking about an old enemy who has appeared numerous times, originally making its debut in Mauer de Toten. But things are very different this time around. Okay, the overall goal of the enemy may be similar, with it hovering around the map giving out buffs to enemies, but this goes so much deeper. This much more important version of the classic Disciple not only looks very different with an incredibly grotesque design, but it's also way more powerful. It has the ability to speed up the evolution process of various enemies, essentially meaning that if you don't deal with these things quickly and smartly, you'll find yourself in some serious trouble. Certain enemies can quickly evolve into doppelgangers if you decide to ignore the power of the Elder Disciples, which can cause you to be absolutely swamped by multiple of these disgusting creatures. Not only that, but if you foolishly decide that even that isn't enough of a warning, they can actually go one step further and eventually become an amalgam, and that's a place you don't want to find yourself in. Although the enemies they can end up producing may not be the most unique of all time, the process to get there is so cool and quite frankly deadly. It provides a very interesting gameplay mechanic, meaning that you can't just leave these things to casually go about their business, they need to be eliminated and quickly. Fortunately, if you spend the time to get rid of the Elder Disciples, you will essentially be rewarded for your hard work, with every enemy that's been buffed by them being eliminated immediately. There was numerous times throughout Black Ops 6 when reusing enemy types was a serious problem, but for some weird reason I just don't feel like that here. And I honestly think it's because of the unique creation process for these monsters in the Shattered Vale, so strangely I'm willing to let it slide. It's almost as if that is your punishment for not putting in the time to deal with the dangerous Elder Disciples, and it may sound stupid, but that's on you. They're not the only enemy that can destroy your health in this experience though, because I really believe that the addition of the super fast toxic zombies was a stroke of genius. Everybody knows how very unchallenging a lot of the special enemy rounds have been over the years. Many of them were so easy that it provided zero difficulty, and many fans just considered it a free max ammo and nothing more. Well, let me tell you, that all changed in the Shattered Vale, because the super bright, incredibly fast and honestly very dangerous toxic zombies can be a major issue for players. These things are no joke, and you really do have to take them seriously, which in my opinion is exactly how special rounds should be. The max ammo is meant to be a reward for your focus and ability to survive here, not just something free for wiping out some popcorn enemies. And they're just another great example of the many different things that the Treyarch devs really got right with the map. With those rounds being really intense, players of course need something devastating to take them down, and that's exactly what you get with the many Ray Gun Mark II variants available in this experience. I mean, sure, they're not entirely original, I openly admit that, and quite often I wouldn't really class wonder weapon reuse as a positive for a modern COD Zombies map, as you'll see shortly, but to me something feels a little bit different here. Although there's no doubt that many fans would consider them very similar to the variants available in Alpha Omega, well at least 2 of the 3 upgrades anyway, and of course the base version is also not really anything special. I am however honestly a fan of their implementation into the Shattered Vale, both in terms of their power to take down the undead and also the unique quest processes to get each upgrade. It all starts by completing a really cool set of tasks to get yourself the base variant, including getting hold of a secret code in order to unlock this transparent cell, upon which you have to wipe out a doppelganger and use a severed arm to release the Mark II. This is just the beginning though, because from this point onwards fans can spend the time to unlock 3 upgraded versions, and that is where the true zombie slaying power comes from. All 3 variants are extremely useful, with one being a blue rapid firing version, which I would say personally is the most impressive and viable as you fly through the rounds. But each has its own perks. The purple shotgun style is incredible for close range and valuable when it comes to surviving in tight confined spaces. And it seems fair to say that the yellow marksman style variant of the Ray Gun Mark II is probably the most original of those available in the Shattered Vale, once again being extremely strong. Particularly if you're accurate, it can dish out some pretty insane damage with each of its shots. But even outside of their ability to take down the Horde though, the different quests to unlock them are excellent. This is not just 3 different versions of the same quest, they're all massively unique and make you feel like you're accomplishing something big whenever you're getting them done. Finding seeds around Colton Hall and defending them in the greenhouse as you get swarmed by huge hordes of zombies, reflecting lasers in order to activate doppelgangers and then sacrificing their souls to a giant statue, and using abominations to electrocute and attack rocks in the garden area. It's not just getting hold of these weapons which is great, it's the missions you have to go on in order to unlock them. Often in a zombies map it doesn't matter how good the wonder weapon is if the process to get it is extremely annoying. But that's really not the case in the Shattered Vale, as it's got the amazing combination of awesome looking, hugely powerful wonder weapons and truly interesting quests to get them, and that's pretty much the perfect scenario. Anyone looking to give themselves a better chance against the Horde could even combine one of these variants with a returning perk that fans have been waiting for nearly 10 years. Double Tap finally made its grand comeback in the Shattered Vale, and not a moment too soon. The first thing I've got to mention is the perk machine looks absolutely phenomenal. Black Ops 6 does an incredible job of this in general, with new perk machine designs being genuinely brilliant, but the updated double tap has got to be one of the best ones I've ever seen. It's honestly a shame you can only buy it once in the map, because I just want to see that amazing animation over and over again. Kinda want to make you take it down to lose your perks just so you can buy it again. Outside of the machine itself though, the perk was a great addition to Black Ops 6, giving players a huge advantage over the undead when it comes to fire rate. It's not all perfect though in some people's eyes, with this of course being much more similar to Double Tap 1.0 than 2.0, doubling fire rate instead of damage. It's not necessarily a bad thing though, as I think a lot of us could agree that Black Ops 6 in general is one of the easier zombies games in the franchise, so giving players automatic double damage for their weapons on top of triple pap and legendary rarity might be a little bit much. And don't forget too, this version of double tap has the added advantage of being part of the augment system just like every other perk in the game, so players have the opportunity to customise it to their liking in order to fit their desired playstyle, giving themselves the opportunity for numerous bonuses, including a chance to increase damage and saving ammo. It may not have been exactly what OG players were looking for, but the return was very much welcomed by most fans, including myself. Tons of fans would say that the Shattered Veil gave players so many huge positives with what very much felt like the full package. And although that may be very close to the truth, I've got to say it does have a few minor negatives, and sadly we can't just brush those under the carpet. I understand that I'm about to sound like a huge hypocrite having praised the return of Raygun Mark II variants, but I think it's important to note that not every returning wonder weapon is always an automatic positive. And sadly I think that's a sentiment that applies to the never-ending return of the Wunderwaffe DG2. It had always been massively speculated that this famous weapon would make an appearance once we got some payoff for the Liberty Falls intro cutscene. After all, it was Richtofen's weapon and was last seen following his abduction at Colton Hall, so narratively it makes perfect sense. And there can be no arguments, this wonder weapon power-wise is one of the most useful things in the Shattered Veil. As it always has been, the Wunderwaffe is top level for taking on the Horde, but that's not really my issue with its inclusion in this map. It's just its constant overuse that makes another appearance from it feel so underwhelming. Vanguard Zombies, MWZ, it's fair to say that the Wunderwaffe hasn't exactly been a stranger over the years, so to see it back in a COD Zombies experience already just really makes it feel like nothing special. It's not as if it's even been changed in any major way, it can't be upgraded outside of sticking it in the Pack-a-Punch machine. No unique elemental upgrades like the Mark II's, nothing. There is a quest to get the weapon for free instead of getting lucky with the mystery box, but even that seems like it's been poorly thought out. In order to get through this quest, players already have to have unlocked the Mark II and upgraded it to one of its elemental variants, which is a pretty big task in order to get your hands on the Wunderwaffe as well. Making fans already work to get a hugely powerful wonder weapon in order to unlock another just seems like a really odd design decision to me. And it's not the only odd choice that the devs seem to have gone with for the Shattered Veil. Although I've already mentioned that I really do think the Easter egg in general is fantastic, there is one step that slightly blows my mind. When trying to complete one of the rituals in the various liminal spaces, players need to get hold of a number of items that relate to that part of the quest. They of course spawn at various locations around the map and need to be found. Now sure, this doesn't sound like anything crazy at all, but the problem isn't being able to just find them, it's having the ability to see them in the first place. And this can only be done using the Ether Shroud field upgrade. So yeah, if you run anything other than Ether Shroud as part of your loadout, you literally can't complete this Easter egg, which is honestly ridiculous. And further still, if you haven't leveled up enough to have even unlocked Ether Shroud in the first place, then this main quest is impossible for you, and that kind of decision is just not okay. This kind of thing doesn't happen often in COD Zombies, with a good example being needing to use a specific gobblegum to complete a step on Zetsubo no Shima. But even then it was available to everyone immediately as a classic consumable, you didn't need to grind through level upgrades to get hold of it. It may sound like an exaggeration, but to me, steps like this have no place in a Zombies experience. No one should be locked out of completing an Easter egg because they haven't played the game for long enough. Sadly, there are other things that probably shouldn't have been included in the Shattered Veil as well. There were quite a few problems that nobody wanted to see replicated from the tomb that I've discussed, but that even extends to certain perks. Out of all the things to bring back from that map, Death Perception was one fans really were not interested in at all. And its inclusion once again in the Shattered Veil would not have been a huge problem if it was just included in the Wonder Fizz machine, but Treyarch weirdly decided to waste an actual perk machine on this thing. Pretty much no fans care about buying death perception as it's largely useless in Black Ops 6, so why would you make this one of the small number of perk machines on the map, particularly after its hugely negative reception on the Tomb? It's just another really weird choice from the devs on this one. But with these negatives, a very important question remains. Did the Shattered Veil really do enough to revive the Zombies community from the depths following the controversial release of the Tomb? It seems reasonable to say that there was a huge amount riding on the release of the Shattered Veil. It was all or nothing with this experience, the true downfall of Black Ops 6 or an incredible comeback setting up the world of Zombies for what was to come and bringing back hype into a community that often struggles with overwhelming negativity. Make no mistake that the Shattered Veil achieved exactly what it set out to do, securing one of the greatest comebacks in Zombies history. Fans went from fearing for the bleak looking future of Black Ops 6 to levels of anticipation not seen for a very long time, and it was all thanks to the Shattered Veil. This experience has pretty much everything any long-term Zombies fan would be looking for with a new DLC. A top-level atmosphere combined with a genuinely brilliant map layout that plays perfectly into the map's Easter egg. The amalgamation of a challenging and story-driven main quest that all culminates in a boss fight that will probably never be forgotten. Huge story advancements, beautifully crafted cutscenes, upgradable elemental wonder weapons, the Shattered Veil has it all. And on top of that, beloved returning perks and fresh takes on classic enemies that provide amazing levels of challenge for fans. Not many previous Zombies experiences, or no doubt those coming in future years, are going to be able to compete with the quality of this map. And I'm pretty sure many fans may see this as a crazy statement to make, but I genuinely believe the Shattered Veil could be up there with some of the greatest maps of all time. It really is that good. Although it may have a few minor negatives, they are nowhere near enough to seriously impact how complete this map feels. And if we really need to answer the question, did the Shattered Veil manage to revive the COD Zombies community, it's not even a difficult response, absolutely 100%, and it felt so good.